And welcome back to Turnpike Takes. And today we're going to dive right into conference play as it has been a few weeks under the belt here for every conference around New Jersey. And some teams in New Jersey are taking great leaps on their 2025-2026 season, and some are leading their conference and making good pushes for a hopeful March Madness. So let's get started. I'm alongside Andrew Hefner here, and let's get started on Rutgers. So Rutgers this past week. They for their standards, they had an up and down week. I believe last time we filmed, it was the night of their Ohio State game, or no, sorry, it was the night after the Ohio State game. And this week they took on Oregon, Illinois, and Northwestern. A loaded slate for them, a lot of games, a lot of action. Oregon at home, 88-85 victory in overtime. And this game was just it was a roller coaster of emotions. Oregon back and forth. And no one could hold a lead for more than 1 to 2 minutes at most. Tariq Francis off the bench with 30 points on 10 of 16 shooting, just dominating in the ISO game against the Ducks. And at one point, it looked like Rutgers was for sure in the clear of winning this game as they took a 5 point lead, a 4 point lead, and it dwindled down to three. But Lino Mark, after missing the second of his free throws, he got his own rebound. But the ref called a foul on Lino Mark, and it was like a messy series of events. Nate Biddle, the center for Oregon, thought the foul was called on him because it was such an egregious call on Mark, and Steve Peichel, head coach for Rutgers, he thought the whistle was on Oregon, and he was like not even that mad because okay, it was a clear foul on Oregon, but no, the referee called the foul on Lino Mark, which gave Oregon the ball back, and Wei Lin, he's averaging 5 points a game before this game, 25% from three. He erupted, and I want to point out John Fanta, love him, the commentator who um, broadcasted this game on Peacock, mentioned had a great line of insanity after he hit a deep contested three to send this game to overtime. But in overtime, justice was served as the Scarlet Knights took down the Ducks 88-85. And just yeah, it was an intense game. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I know you were on your edge of your seat watching this, and it's just like Tariq Francis, Jermichael Davis, the team finally came together, and you could finally see something clicking after just a really hard first couple months of the season. Just good to pick up a win in front of your home crowd.
Well, I was actually on the edge of my seat listening to uh, Mitch Peterson of Princeton kind of recount his crazy game at the time that game was heading to overtime. Um, and I mean, listen, from what I could see from that game, first of all, I love that you shout out John Fanta's call. He is by far one of the best college basketball announcers in the game right now. Um, love hearing about him and love hearing some of his great calls. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think Rutgers, all things considered, have looked pretty good and have made their way through this really tough schedule so far. I will say the Illinois game's not pretty, but that's kind of an expected result there. We talked about the Ohio State game last time, but being able to pick up these wins over Oregon and Northwestern against teams that are unranked, maybe towards the middle or bottom of the Big Ten in terms of power rankings and stuff like that, it's big to pick up those wins, and you have a couple more games like that coming up with Wisconsin, um, Iowa, Indiana. I mean, those are all in theoretically winnable games, and really, you just got to keep grinding through. You got to pick up as many wins as possible, especially early on in the season before maybe it gets a little rougher down the stretch. But I mean, you've gotten through the bad part of the schedule, in my opinion, and now it's time to really hammer down and get some big wins.
Steve Pikiel's team, they just historically, okay, they might not be the most talented. They're developed from 3 stars, developed from 2 stars. Some of our best players from the past 7 years of a team with decent success with two March Madness appearances and one which would have been during the COVID year. It's not like let's go get that 5 star from high school. Let's go get that insane portal player. It's like they develop them, and that's why the hard nosed identity, like playing with a chip on your shoulder, something that all these teams have. And although this team is by far way less talented than what teams we had in the past, they do play that way. against Northwestern, Darren Buchanan Jr. He was a low recruited guy. Went to George Washington, Virginia Tech to George Washington. Got his chance at Rutgers this year. Really, I'm gonna keep it honest. He's had a pretty rough start to his Rutgers career, and I think the frustration was getting to him. But this Northwestern game, um, where he really stepped up and helped deliver a big win. It was not looking bright. We were down 12 early. I think it even got to 14 at one point, and obviously Tariq Francis had another 30-point performance. But if you look past that, Darren Buchanan, 13 points, 10 rebounds, the game-winning block in overtime to seal it, which he came out of nowhere. If you were watching on TV, looked like Jake West, freshman guard for the Wildcats, had an open lane for a game-tying layup to send it to double overtime, and Darren Buchanan came out of nowhere and blocked it after missing the free throw that would have cut it to three or would have brought it to three. And that's something I love out of these teams because you know what? We're not. I think every fan, maybe even some of the players of the team, know this is not a March Madness caliber team. It's not. But that's not gonna like make them feel like, all right, this season's doesn't matter. Let's just move on to the next one. They're gonna go after every win. They're gonna fight for every win, and I like to see that. They're 9-8. They're 2-4 in Big Ten. Their last four games, three of them were very close. Two of them were victories. And a wild stat I wanted to point out: since the 2019 to 2020 season, Scarlet Knights are 11-1 in overtime games, overtime appearances. Yeah, 11-1. I don't, but I want to check what that one loss was. I didn't dive into that. Doesn't come to memory. Oh, wait, never mind. It's you know what that loss is? It's the Notre Dame game in March Madness, the first four of 2022, where it was a double overtime loss. That probably is the only game we've never lost a game in regular season overtime. So they have that chip on their shoulder. I like how they're playing. As you said, they have some winnable games coming up in Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana, even USC, UCLA. Not saying that we're gonna pull something off like a Cinderella run. Hey, but get a few wins, retain some of these players hopefully for next year. There is not a single player on this team that is unable to come back next year. Emmanuel Gbole will need to get one more year of eligibility, but I think because of a medical redshirt, he will be able to. And every player from 1 through 13 can come back. So build some chemistry, get some wins, build some momentum. Going into next year, better than what we're looking in going into this year. And yeah, I can see that happening very easily. Moving on to the Princeton Tigers, a team that you often cover. What have you seen out of the Tigers this past week as they have built up some big time victories in Ivy League play?
I mean, I quickly want to read out a quote that I had from an Ivy preview um, that I wrote right before Ivy conference play got started after the Princeton win over Vermont. I said, with plenty of talent on the roster and rather unlucky results over the last month, a full strength Tigers team certainly has the capability to return to their former ways, but it seems that a little bit of magic will need to be on their side this time around. And that magic has absolutely shown up through the first two Ivy games for the Princeton Tigers because I was in attendance for the first of these two games for UPenn. And I want to start off with the historical significance of this game. If you didn't know, in the 103 years that this game has been played, dating back um, just like over a century now, this series has only ever been led or tied, only been led by Penn. And it was tied heading into this matchup. Head coach Mitch Henderson and his Tigers team haven't lost to Penn, and I believe 8 straight games. And coming into this game, Princeton's last place in the Ivy League. They did the worst in conference play by far. They had an 8-game losing streak, and they went down by, I believe, 15 or 16 points in the first half. And then they went on a 16 for 16 run to start the second. Took the lead, never looked back. It came down to the wire at the end, but that was that. And for the first time ever, the Princeton Tigers are leading that all-time series, 127 to 126. Second, Yale. I mean, come on. Yale was 12-2, heading into conference play. Their only loss was, I think it was a tough one to Providence, and then they lost to Alabama, which, okay, sure, but they were still in that game. Um, listen, this is not this is not a game Princeton was expected to win this season or even last season with players like Caden Pierce and Xavier Lee still on the team. Caden Pierce and Xavier Lee aren't here anymore. You have Jackson Hickey getting a career high 27 points. You have Malik Abdullahi, the sophomore, coming out of nowhere to lead the team in rebounds, and he's been a key to their success so far this season. And then you have Dalen Davis finally returning from injury. Remember, he hadn't played since November, and he is back dropping 19 points off the bench. I believe he had 16 in this most recent game against Yale, and or 17 in this game against Yale. I mean, come on. This league, and now they're going to head up to Harvard this weekend. They have winnable games. And the one test that remains that is really a team that's going to stand in the way, they stand second in the Ivy. There's only two teams that are undefeated right now. That's Dartmouth. 119, the 19th of January at 6 p.m. That game at Dartmouth is going to be the game that decides whether Princeton is going to be a real competitor for the Ivy League championship this year. Because if they can beat Dartmouth, they can beat any other team in the Ivy League as it stands right now. I'm so incredibly proud and surprised by what this team has done so far. And listen, I don't see this slowing anytime soon because they've come back from deficits. They've pushed their way through two top teams. They've pushed their way through stars on both these teams. Townsend, one of the best Ivy players that we've seen in the last decade. Ethan Roberts returning from injury for Penn. He played out of his mind that game. There's no one that will beat these Princeton Tigers down the stretch if they can get through Dartmouth.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think this Princeton story is just kind of going under the radar per se. I know it's just their record is like almost like, oh, this can't be a good team, but you really just look at the start they had, and it's just because you have such a young roster. Mitch Henderson is such an underappreciated coach. He really is. I don't know. Do you know what year he is as a coach? So he's got to be in double digits or close to that.
Oh, by far. I mean, he was a Princeton player back in the day. Let's see. So he graduated from Princeton in 1998. He's led Princeton to a Sweet 16, four Ivy League champions, two Ivy League tournament champions. He's two-time Ivy League Coach of the Year. He was a National Coach of the Year finalist in 2024 and in 2017. He has 7 20-win seasons, 12 wins over high major opponents. He's coached 4 Ivy League Players of the Year and 20 pro players. 20 pro players from an Ivy League? Like
Unreal. I mean, it really
that's
is.
absolutely, yeah,
I mean,
that's unheard of.
14 years, that's what it is.
Um,
14 years of coaching a team and just having this consistent success is really just because he's such a good development coach. Like Jackson Hickey came in as a freshman in the 23-24 season at average 1 point. Sophomore season, average 5 points. Xavier Lee leaves. Caden Pierce is on a like a gap year per se. I mean, and all of a sudden he shoots up to 14 a game. He's leading the team. He's picking up wins, scoring 27 points against one of the best Ivy League teams we've seen since some of the Princeton teams in the past in Yale. And you look at him like, where is this guy from? He's from Pennsylvania. He's probably under recruited. He came to Princeton, and now he's going off. And soon he's going to get some more national attention. And he will be like an Xavier Lee type of story because he is doing some things that you would never expected preseason. And Malik Abdullahi, he's obviously not like the scorer as much as Hickey is. He only averages 9 a game. But last year, he's coming off his freshman year where he only played under 15 minutes a game and scored around 4. And now he shot up to 9 points a game. He shoots it at a high rate, and he plays a lot of minutes. He's a good defender. And what do you take out of that? Mitch Henderson can develop these guys. He doesn't need
and
the
I
top
want to,
end talent.
yeah, and I want to point out one more thing. There's not a single senior on this team. Like, I don't think you understand how ridiculous that is. that there's no one that's been on this team for more than 3 years. It's just Jackson Hickey, Jacob Huggins, and Dalen Davis. Those are the juniors. Those are all of the upperclassmen. That's it. And he is leading this team essentially of underclassmen. Everyone that's coming off the bench are underclassmen. He is to Vic Jackson Hickey. Got Ivy League Player of the Week this week for his career high 27. The week before was Jack Stanton. He's a sophomore. He's come out of nowhere. He also hit a career high first against Vermont, then reset that career high against Penn. But I mean, come on, this team. He's been able to turn around this team. And listen, I said unlucky results in non-conference play. Those were some unlucky games. 8 straight games, and 5 of them were by 5 points or less, and they all came down to the
100%.
wire. Princeton led them all at some point or another. Like
100%.
ridiculous.
I was looking at their schedule a couple like a while back. I'm like, yeah, they're 6-11. Like obviously, yeah, 6-11 is not great by any means. That is below what you want to be as a mid-major team. But they played Kansas extremely well. They played Bradley or not sorry, not Bradley Temple to the wire. And that was I mean, I don't know if you were watching that game, a blasphemous call on Princeton to even allow Temple to win that game. They played Monmouth to the wire, St. Joe's to the wire, Vermont to the wire, Loyola Chicago to the wire, Merrimack to the wire, Temple again to the wire. All of these losses coming under 5 points. Every single one I just listed besides Kansas, under 5 points. That is
By the way,
let me count
they
this up.
they they were only behind to Kansas by I think less than 8 going into halftime. Like they stuck with them. They were leading that game for most of the first half.
Exactly. That's a 7 point. That's 7 games. And you know what that swing is? You said you win 5 of those. You're sitting at a 11-6 team all of a sudden, right? You're sitting at a team that is 6-11, and you're gonna flip that record, and you're looking at it. Oh, this Princeton team's legit. This Princeton team can do it. They're a good team, and that's the one amazing thing about mid-major teams. You don't need to have that early season success. All you need to do is catch fire some point in January, some point in February, and take that into March and win your conference tournament. Because Princeton can make March Madness as in, I don't know, 14 and 16 team. They really can. It doesn't matter. And that's what I love about mid-major. That's what I love about college basketball. Looking for Princeton to keep up this success. As you mentioned, watch that Dartmouth game. Just January 19th,
Yeah.
6 p.m. If you
And,
have to download ESPN Plus, pay a few dollars, watch that game. It's gonna be worth it.
and
Moving
I
on.
want to
Oh,
shout out Princeton women's basketball real quick.
mm,
Um,
good
they're
team, yeah.
one of now. I think it's insane that we get to say this at this point in the season because we didn't think this was going to be possible. This is one of 2 ranked college basketball teams in New Jersey right now. We have 2 ranked college basketball teams. Like that's crazy. So they're the number 22 team in the country right now. Their only loss so far, they're 14-1. Their only loss was to number 12 Maryland for the 3rd game of the season. And since then, they have literally just won out. Um, it's going to be interesting with Ivy League because you're not going to shoot up in the rankings that much, especially when you're beating teams like Yale by 26 points like they did last weekend. So I assume they're going to, assuming they don't lose, they're going to stay stagnant around this 20 mark. But I mean, come on, this is just absolutely ridiculous. They lost a lot of other great players after last season because remember they made it to the first 4 and they lost to Iowa State, I believe, in Audie Crooks, which was an interesting game. But yeah, I mean, this is incredible. Madison St. Rose is the team's leading scorer right now. She's averaging 17. She's a New Jersey native. Um, yeah, absolutely ridiculous. This is going to be a great Tigers team to watch. Both of these Tigers teams are absolutely on point as they have been in previous seasons. So some good stuff there, but wanted to make sure that we shouted them out because they are on an absolute tear right now.
Yeah, and I feel like I could be mistaken, but I think in women's basketball for college, some of these mid-major teams like do get 10 seeds and stuff and 9 seeds and 8 seeds. Like I don't know if it's just like a random memory. I remember Rutgers women's maybe in like 2020 played Buffalo in the first round as we were the 7 seed, they were the 10 seed, and Buffalo was just amazing in the MAC that year and got a 10 seed.
Mhm.
So very possible that Princeton can get a good seed and honestly do something in the tournament. That's hey, we're gonna definitely look out for them because if they have this continued success, they are a team to watch. It's Garden State Sports. They are right now one of the best teams in the state. But moving on to what might be the best team in the state so far are the Seton Hall Pirates, who have jumped up into the rankings for the first time in who knows? I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last time they were in the rankings.
Four
And the
seasons.
Pirates,
Four
4 seasons, unreal. The Pirates are back, and they are back for real this time. They are I want to say what 14-2 now. I mean, they are
Yes, 14 and 2.
14-2. I mean, their only losses are to USC and to Villanova, and USC shouldn't have been a loss, as I think I mentioned every single week. Um, they are coming off just a really dominant week, just showing their identity with wins over Marquette. That was they were losing. I It was really just a random. I don't know if it's like, hey, maybe I'm their good luck charm or something. I turned the game on, Seton Hall's down like 7 with like 2.5 minutes to go. They went on like a 14-0 run right when I turned the game on, and they just flipped that game um immediately in 2 minutes and took over that game and defeated a pretty bad Golden Eagles team, to be honest, but it just showed their hard-nosed identity. And then you take on Creighton, survive the last second, take on Georgetown. That was a game they were fighting in that game late, and Bud Clark took over there to have a victory. And now you have the game of the day tomorrow at home against the Yukon Huskies. This game is on True TV, 8 o'clock p.m. I will for sure be watching this game. I mean, the scenes of Trenton, New Jersey, if the Pirates win this game, will be unreal, and I'm really hoping they do. But yeah, no. What did you really like? Did you tune into any Pirates game this week? Any see anything you really liked? Because they are legit and they are really
Yeah.
really deep as well.
Um, I have unfortunately not been able. I've seen the highlights. I've seen what's going on there. Obviously, um, I think the game tomorrow night is Big East game of the season. By I don't think we're gonna see a better game until maybe they play each other again at the end of February. Um, at the Rock, I'm hoping that they sell out the Prudential Center because I mean, listen, they play there for a reason, and it never ever gets filled. And for the first time, you're good, and you have a team like that coming to town. Let's pack the place. Let's get Newark rocking. Um, I mean, this is this is crazy. I can't believe that we're at a point where, and we'll get to another one of these teams in a second, where we can say, and confidently say, in fact, that we've already gone through two men's basketball teams at least, that are like have a real chance to make a tournament. I mean, Seton Hall obviously more so than Princeton at this point. We're going to look at St. Peter's in a second, but I mean, this is the transfer portal era. You can tank last year. You discover some guys from these mid-major programs, especially a lot of MAC players coming over for Seton Hall, and they just never had their chance to play against these top teams. And now that they are, they're absolutely pulling out. I mean, this team is absolutely ridiculous. AJ State and McRae, no idea how they were able to scout him and get him to this team because he could be playing somewhere so much better right now. I want to keep shouting out Stephon Payne, who I think has been the biggest pickup. Uh, I mean, leading the team in rebounds, 7.4. He's a senior and he's a big man. He's 6'9". But the most surprising thing about this team, the highest average points is 12.3 for State McRae. Um, and besides that, there's only two other players, Simpkins and Bud Clark, that are averaging over 10, and yet they are still one of the best teams in college basketball. They have so much depth. They have been absolutely incredible, just getting scoring. Their defense has been amazing. Um, Listen, this team's going far. Considering how low their scoring is, and that they don't really have one big star player, and they're still playing this well, um, I think that they're going to be perfectly fine for time to come.
Yeah, I mean, sell out the Rock is just something that needs to be over. Every single Seton Hall media page, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, sell out this freaking stadium, this freaking arena. Because remember the Miles Powell days? I mean, that was like a player. Like I was always a Rutgers fan, obviously, but just looking at when Rutgers was terrible, like crosstown rival, Seton Hall, just kind of like, man, I want that for like my team. You know, the Miles Powell days where that place was just always loud, always sold out. Miles Powell would always put on a show for them. Gus Johnson on the air, something like some iconic lines from the past. That's just what Seton Hall is known for. Like they are a basketball team. They don't have a football team. They don't have like a I don't even know if Big East plays hockey. I think they do. They don't have a good hockey team. They don't have a like they live for basketball. Their fans live for basketball, and they're finally back. And they just play just team basketball. I mean, this is our my other member that I co-host with Chase. As you guys know. I think in like the third episode or something. This was during Seton Hall, like beginning of the season. He was like, I this was right before their game against North Carolina State in Maui. He was like, I like this team, and I think they can go far and they can do a lot of things in their season. But before that happens in this tournament, they need to play better team basketball. They need to build chemistry. They need to figure out how to win games without one score. And that was spoken into existence because that is exactly what this team is made of. Shaheen Holloway is that type of coach. That team where he led St. Peter's to a magical Elite Eight run was obviously led by in the tournament Doug Eder and some other stars. But there were like four or five players every game who would leave their mark on the game and and they were able to defeat teams like Purdue who had crazy height advantages because they weren't just one guy scoring the rock. It was multiple guys contributing the points, multiple guys crashing on Zach Edey, crashing on Jaden Ivey, not allowing any easy points, and that he's taking that identity to the Pirates. And I love Shaheen Holloway as a person on and off the court as well. I think he's just a stand-up guy. After the Georgetown victory, they went into the locker room, or right before they went into the locker room, Holloway pulled his players and he said, "No, go to the stands where your fans are. Thank them for coming out." And they waved to them. They like took some pictures, high-fived him. Just such a small act of kindness. Like these guys drove up to DC to watch you guys play, and I'm the coach. I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm gonna treat you. I'm gonna tell them to treat you guys with respect. And like something I like that about Shea Holloway, and he's known to do that. He's a good coach, and yeah, this team is legit. So I mean, tomorrow that game is going to be cinema. I hope it's at least close. I hope Seton Hall puts up a good fight, and a win would just be the cherry on top. But moving on to a team that I think both of us are really, really excited about. We were texting about this last night after a big victory. The St. Peter's Peacocks, as we just mentioned, Shaheen Holloway's former team, looks like both of his teams are doing pretty good in this 2025-2026 season. They are coming off I mean, one of I think their best win of the season, I would say, against Merrimack, the former number one team in the MAAC standings. And this was just a dominant win for them at home, 76-63. And honestly, it was pretty shocking to all of us as Merrimack was coming into this game at 10-7 and 6-0 in conference play. And St. Peter's just on both sides of the ball won it, and they took it to Merrimack and didn't let them get control of this game at all. What are your thoughts on St. Peter's as you do cover them a lot?
I mean, the St. Peter's team is ridiculous. I saw them for the first game of their season. I saw them a little bit later for UMass Lowell. I mean, I don't, I don't know what to say. Like, this team has been incredible in so many different ways. From you've one player remaining from that Elite Eight team, and what a storyline it is that that one player has by far had the best season of anyone on this team. He's come back from a season-ending injury last year, and he's been incredible. Brent Bland, he's been great, and finally he had 17, I believe, in a game um, a little while ago, but he had 4, 6, and 10 against Merrimack, which putting up numbers against a team like that was really favored to win the MAC is pretty impressive. And then you have Quinnipiac um, on Wednesday. And this is the same deal as Princeton. This is the same deal as Seton Hall. If Seton Hall beats UConn, they're the best team in the Big East by far. If Princeton can beat Dartmouth, they're the best team in the Ivy League. If St. Peter's can beat Quinnipiac, they have beat the only two teams remaining ahead of them in the conference standings, and they're the best team in the MAAC. I don't know another way to put it. They have been incredible team basketball. Um, I'm liking everything that I'm seeing from the St. Peter's team. And Bashir Mason has done a fantastic job getting these guys into a groove that works for them, getting them good playing time, working through these different rotations well. They debuted a new defense this year that they were having some trouble with towards the start of the season. It seems like they've figured that out. I mean, they limited Marist, who is the fourth best team in the MAC, to 59. They beat Merrimack by 13. Yeah, I mean, incredible all around. Really like watching this team. It's exciting to watch. It reminds me a lot of that 2022 Elite Eight team. And I'm hoping that we can see a run like that coming in soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this team is really good, and it's just crazy how their only loss in conference play is to Mount St. Mary's, who was one of the worst teams in the conference. So, um, I don't really know how to take that. I don't really know how to I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. It's obviously not a good thing they lost, but it's not like they're losing to the best competition. Like, they good chance they don't face Mount St. Mary's again, like or they're facing one more time, but in the conference tournament, they're not going to face Mount St. Mary's. There's a good chance. And if they're going to beat Merrimack by 13, if they're going to hopefully beat Quinnipiac on Wednesday by whatever they beat them by, they can beat anyone, as you said. And it's just, yeah, I really see this team as a more contender. Right now, if I were to pick a team in the MAAC, no bias. I know I love New Jersey sports. I love college basketball in New Jersey. No bias, I would choose this Peacock team. They undoubtedly have the best scorer in the conference, I feel like, with Brent Bland. Just pure scorer, just pure skills on the offensive ball, ISO game, like similar to Tariq Francis out of Rutgers, right? He is the best scorer in this conference. And if he continues this and he can continue the success, I mean, what he did against Merrimack was all they needed, 17 points, got to the line 10 times. That's what a true scorer does. And if he can do that every game, there is zero chance they lose another bad game like Mount St. Mary's. There is a good chance they end the year with maximum 4 to 5 conference losses and probably landing them a 1 or 2 seed in their tournament, giving them a good shot to play for a March Madness bid. And if you're sitting at that type of record, you're not looking at a 16 seed St. Peter's or a 15 seed St. Peter team. You're looking at a 14 or a 13, where a team they can really test one of those middle tier power forward teams that are susceptible to a loss, and as we've seen in the past with Kentucky, when they defeated Kentucky. So yes, definitely keep a lookout these Peacocks team. I mean, they are neck and neck for like are one of my favorite teams to watch right now. Like with Seton Hall, with Princeton, like they're right there. I really like this Peacocks team. Moving on, another team that I actually think is better than their record shows are the Monmouth Hawks. They are 8-9 in the CAA right now, coming off a really heartbreaking loss to Hofstra. The very good Hofstra team at that, the 4-0 Hofstra Pride. Monmouth is sitting at 2-2 in conference play now after picking up back-to-back wins against Towson and William Mary before this. The Hofstra game was played at the Hofstra home stadium, and this game was led by a 30-point performance out of Jason Riviera Torres, their leading scorer, who put up just everything he got on the floor, left everything he got on the floor for a victory, but they did not get it and came up short in overtime. But that's a sign of improvement for the Hawks. And I really think that I'm not saying they're going to win the CAA, and I don't think there's a chance. But they're right now they're sitting in the middle of the pack. I think they can string together some wins, some confidence and momentum. I can really see this team testing some of the contenders in this conference. Anything you want to add on the Hawks that you've seen in these past couple weeks?
Um, I think that we're like a good pattern that we're going to see here with a lot of these teams coming up is their conference schedules were tough. They struggled immensely. Um, they're not doing bad in conference play. They're going to be. There's a reason they're in these conferences. They're going to be in a mix for all of them, and really these. I just think that these conference tournaments for all of the teams that we talked about so far, um, assuming Rutgers makes it, um,
No, Big
will
Ten has changed actually. Big Ten's changed. They're letting
will
all
very fun
18 teams in.
to watch because I think all of the teams. Oh, really?
Yeah, they are.
Good for Rutgers. I'm sure that they were very
Yeah.
excited excited about that one. But I think that every team that we've talked about so far, um, or most of them, have a chance to make a run at their conference tournament for a bit at the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if we have multiple teams representing the Garden State heading into March.
Yeah, no. And then yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I think we have a almost like a ceiling of three and a floor of one. No, I think that's a good range looking at what in the middle of January right
Got to
now.
be got to be one.
Yeah, I'll say I think it's almost like you're 6%. You're like you're a few wins away for Seton Hall from from eclipsing an automatic bid as almost like a guaranteed 10 seed right now. And you're looking at a their ceiling is like a 5 seed. But yeah, moving on to the FDU Knights, they are 2-2 in the NEC right now, sitting at 5-12 overall. But again, as you said, non-conference schedules are very difficult for some of these teams, and I mean to say the least, they probably had the hardest one in the Garden State. But they are stringing together some big wins down the stretch. I think we mentioned the Boston College, Minnesota kind of pretty good like halves that we kind of touched on, and they kind of brought that momentum into NEC play, and they have been playing pretty well. Wins over Mercyhurst and Chicago State. Chicago State is the worst team in the conference, but Mercyhurst is right there with Charlie Dickinson at 2-2. So that's a big time win. Like getting a win against a team that is same talent wise, same record wise as you. They did lose to St. Francis, Pennsylvania, who is 4-13 on the year, not a good loss, but New Haven is another 2-2 team. So and they play them pretty well. I do like this FTU team as maybe a middle of the pack NEC team. I'm hoping that they can string together some wins. They do have a tough game versus Long Island, the 4-0 the 4-0 team in NEC and the likely favorite to win it all. But yeah, if the Knights can win some of these games, make the conference tournament. Who knows what we can see out of them? But I don't have the highest expectations on this year. And then for our final team, or sorry, for our second last team, we have Ryder. Ryder is again just not having their best season to say the least. They're sitting at 1-14, 0-6 in conference play. They really haven't been close in many of the games. They lost to Marist by 22 in their past game. They play a good Iona team on Wednesday and a good St. Peter's team, as we mentioned a few days later. Honestly, I don't know how many wins they're going to get this year. I'm hoping for them to pick up a few down the stretch, but it pains me to say this, but there's a very good chance they end the year with 1 or 2 wins because they
Yeah.
do not have it this year.
Oh, absolutely. Um, I mean, that's the unfortunate reality here. I don't know. I mean, let's see. Right
But
now, Flashburn in just conference play is at. I mean, he's averaging 13.7. Like that's not bad. Zion Cruz averaging 13.8. They have talent. Unfortunately, the talent will not be returning to them next year, but they do have talent. Um,
yeah, I mean,
it's
I think
just
maybe
no zero depth.
zero depth. Keep an eye out maybe for January 19th against Sacred Heart. Maybe like February 22nd in Niagara. Um, I
Yeah,
think
I
those are like
mean,
the
if
only
you
really possible wins that I'm looking at because Fairfield, who is like one of the worst, like not the best team in conference play, they lost to them. Mount St. Mary's maybe on the 24th. I guess Sacred Heart, the January 19th, January 24th, those two games, one's on the road, one's at home. I think they can pick up one of those wins. I think they're going to need to. I think those are the only couple chances they have, if they don't pull up a major upset. But yeah, that might it might take like a 30-point game out of Zion Cruz or Flash Burn to really do it. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more of the Bronx this year. I just want like it's just hard as a mid-major team because you're just at the high risk of Flash Burton transferring. And even if he transfers to like barely a step up, I think anything right now is a step up for him. And I think he's not going to go to the Power Five level, I don't believe. But even if he goes to a Mountain West school and plays off the bench, I think he'd prefer that than playing on a 1-14 team where he gets to be the guy, but at what cost? So yeah, I don't really know what the future is in holds for Ryder here. That's why I think just trying to get wins is like just the most important thing you can do for your team. But we'll see what they can do. And then finally, NJIT, who has been surprisingly good in the American East so far. They're staying at 2-1 in the conference. That's going to put them in fourth place behind UMass Lowell, UMBC, and Vermont. They're 7-11 overall for record-wise. Suffered a pretty demoralizing loss against a 3-15 Maine team after having a two-game win streak over Binghamton and New Hampshire. But big game coming up this week against UMass Lowell. We'll see how good this Highlander team is. Because if they can beat the number one team in the conference, look out for the Highlanders as another sneaky team in the Garden State. Anything you see at the Highlanders, I know they have a lot of scorers, a lot of depth. They are led by David Bolden, who comes in around 12 a game, but they have a few guys who can light it up from long range, who can a few good centers as well, good height and good length for an American East team. Do you think they can rival Vermont, UMBC, and UMass Lowell down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Lowell, I watched them earlier in the season against St. Peter's. Um, they're not they're not that strong of a team. Um, like there's a lot of holes in their defense. Um, it came down to the wire. I mean, it was a 68-66 game, but it looked like St. Peter's was really running that game the whole time. Um, they lost to Quinnipiac. They lost to Boston University. Um, they, I mean, obviously they lost to Iowa, but like winnable games. All of these are winnable games for most of these teams. For NJIT, I mean, you have David Bolden. He has been um, incredible, but I want to point out um, Sebastian Robinson. He doesn't start. He is second on the team in scoring, I believe, in average scoring. He hasn't
Yeah, he
started a
is.
single game this season, um, which is ridiculous. Another one of these New Jersey native guys who's kind of um, jumping out a bit as a reliable sixth man, and he's doing an extremely good job of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be good, and the fact that Bolden's also leading in assists, that's always a good thing to see. Ari Fulton with 114 rebounds, just a sophomore. Um, he reminds me actually a lot of Malik Abdullahi. Actually, pretty similar build, and he has a similar role um, on this team here. So yeah, overall, a lot of talent, strong team. Conference is completely winnable, like we've said for most of these teams. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, you mentioned that a sixth man with Sebastian Rodriguez. I think it's just like some coaching philosophy that coaches around the country are kind of adapting now, adopting because like you look at this Rutgers, they're leading two leading scorers this past game against Northwestern came off the bench. And Tariq Francis came off the bench for the past 5 or 6 games. And in those 5 or 6 games, I believe he's averaging like 23 points a game or something, with 3 30-point
Yeah.
games in there. So for Rodriguez, I mean, it might be a thing. Like he gets to lead that second group. He gets to come off at the under 16, at the under 12 media timeout, and almost play against his opponent's second stringers and like get the buckets that NGIT needs when their starters are off the court. Because he's basically like a sixth starter, right? Like he is starting the game almost, but he's playing with the second teamers and he plays against second teamers. So instead of having to use all your energy and get subbed out the game at the under 12 after not doing much against your opponent's second teamers, he gets brought in and provides a little spark off the bench, quote unquote, right? So I think it's working. Until it doesn't, he probably won't see the starting rotation for a while. Um, but yeah, I like this NJIT team. Hopefully they can do a lot. So that's gonna do it for this episode of Gardens of Turnpike Takes. Thank you for watching, alongside Andrew Hefner, and we'll see you in the next episode.